Welcome to Served Up. This podcast is where hospitality meets leadership and where we take an honest look at the business of beverage. I'm Bridget Albert. I've spent my career building cocktail programs, mentoring rising talent, judging competitions, and advocating for women in our industry. I'm joined by my co-host, Eric Heemer, one of only 5 people in the world to hold both the Master Sommelier and Master of Wine titles. His depth of knowledge and global perspective brings tremendous insight to every conversation. This is Served Up. Hey, y'all, it's Bridget here. Our next guest is someone whose name is synonymous with excellence in beverage hospitality, Lonnie Finley. He's built an extraordinary career as a beverage director, educator, and mentor, earning the respect of colleagues across wine and beverage in the hospitality industries. What has always set Lonnie apart is his belief that great service begins with genuine connection. Whether he's curating an exceptional beverage menu, mentoring the next generation of hospitality professionals, or sharing his deep knowledge of spirits, he brings authenticity, generosity, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. So sit back, grab yourself your favorite cocktail, and enjoy the show. Lonnie, welcome to Served Up. I'm really excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. Happy to be anywhere, actually. So always appreciative to be able to be a part of something for the industry.
Absolutely. Lonnie, let's start from the beginning. What really first drew you into beverage and into the hospitality industry? And did you always envisioning this really becoming your career?
So I would say that last part was definitely did not envision this being my career. But I, like many people, I'm sure, ventured to Los Angeles pursuing a career in the entertainment industry of some sorts. So I was actually working in restaurants and bar back in Maryland. So I'm from the DC area, but I grew up in Maryland and Prince George's County, Austin Hill, Maryland. I always like to represent that. But so I worked in the restaurant industry outside of my college after I got back off of doing a Shakespeare tour around the country for like 9 months. So I did Shakespeare on the country for 9 months after I graduated from college. And it was like my first paid gig. And then after that, I kind of was like, I'll work in a restaurant for a bit, get some of those skills, and then go to California because a friend of mine who graduated a year before me said, hey, come to California, have a serving job, bartending job, something like that. So that was the first sort of, this is the direction I'm going in. And I think that first, just thinking about it now, and even at the time, I was in theater and doing film stuff. And so you know, waiting on tables, bartending, it's a stage. And as long as you have a good memory and you're, charismatic, for me, that was kind of an easy transition. So coming to LA bartending and just like working every type of place. And I think still seeing it as a good way to have a schedule that can move around and still perform and pursue. And I think right around, I want to say probably bartending on and off, working in various like industries where I'm around alcohol, private events, stuff like that. It was just kind of the secondary job. And then pandemic hit. Like a lot of bartenders, I was wanting to be done with bartending. I mean, I'm now 43 years old, so I was ready to be. My body was done, my shoulders were done. I wanted to go to sleep at a regular time, and so I started back at Barkeeper. Barkeeper's a liquor store in Los Angeles. Bottle shop. This place is like Fancy Free and Plastic Field, similar types of liquor stores. And so I was working there downtown, and then I ended up working at the shop during the pandemic because I wasn't bartending. And I called up the previous owner, Mr. Joe Keeper, who is now retired. And I was like, hey, how are you and your wife doing? I literally was just checking on him because I was driving around the streets of Los Angeles where no one was on the road. I would go joyriding during the pandemic because it was just no one on the road. It was fun. As long as you weren't on the main highways and cops weren't there, you're good to go. So I was doing that and checking in with him, and he was like, hey, do you want to come work at the shop? And so I started working in the store again. and then it kind of got me back in the side of I like the industry. I've learned so much about it, but I don't really want to be on the side of bartending anymore. I don't really want to do that. I want to kind of do more of the behind the scenes. And so working in a retail environment, started really loving that aspect of tasting spirits, learning about them, really becoming more on the educational side of what goes on in the business, numbers, all that stuff. And then kind of started doing my own company with consulting and teaching people how to make drinks because I was like, I can 2 hours teaching people versus like at night at bartending 100%. And then I can kind of, help impart some home bartending wisdom or just make them have a good time for like a couple hours. So, yeah, that's a long winded way to say that's where I came from and where I got. But this was not intended. It just is a great avenue for a secondary source of income of the many of the six that I'm trying to work on.
Mm,
So,
my goodness. Well, I mean, you've had quite a journey from Shakespeare to the bar,
mhm,
that's pretty incredible. I mean, so you
yeah,
do have that acting background, and I love that you said that, yes, the bar is a stage you are on, right? Sometimes you're
of
the
course.
thing that people see when they walk into a restaurant, you are their first stop. Right? And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
sometimes
100%.
overlook that. So I love that you shine that spotlight. I think it's important that we remember that many times that's the focus, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I think the thing too is that I would say that during that time period of the pandemic, and I can speak for the people that I know, and I don't know every single person in Los Angeles. That's crazy, but I know a lot of bartenders in the industry, and a lot of people who are probably of the era of bartender that I was, which I came to LA in like 2007, which is crazy
Mhm.
to say that, but I came when I was muddling cherries, orange, sugar packet, old fashions with a little bit of soda water over top, and that was what people were expecting at bars. And then like
That's very
Pabst,
Wisconsin of you, by the
yeah.
way. Very
So
Wisconsin
we
of
were
you.
doing that in Hollywood and Highland at a place that is called Koji's, which is closed. They did not have a great owner there, but that's a whole nother story. But
Mhm.
that's what we were doing. And so I saw a craft cocktail kind of come in and become the thing and really dominate to the point where it was a stage, it was featuring like really great cocktails. And then I seen lately with after like I'm gonna use pandemic again because it put a pause on everything, is
Yeah.
that the people who saw it as that opportunity to use it as a stage or a way to just connecting or hey, I'm gonna go to work today, but at least as a bartender, I get to be creative. They're kind of still there. Some, yes, but some have gone. And then there's a new crowd that probably didn't like, in my opinion, start up bar backing to bartending and learning the ropes behind the scenes and just I don't want to say didn't earn it because I don't know their life story, but there's a different presence now, or sometimes when I don't see necessarily the same stage format from everybody. Now, there's great bartenders. I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying that it's kind of like from an era standpoint, I feel like an old
Mhm.
person saying it like, well, back in my day, bartending to come in, the person was who you came to see. That still happens. It felt different probably because I was still working. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, along your journey, did you have any mentors or industry figures that helped kind of shape your path? And what lessons did you learn that you still use as a guide today?
In this industry, it's hard to at least see if I have like mentors. I'm trying to think. I feel like mentors, not as much in the bar scene. There's people who I would like see and follow and like I remember one of the first people I remember I just Vanessa Bojanowski, who is a bartender at a place I worked at in Hollywood and Highland. And it would be like a Sunday shift, I'd be bar backing for her. And it was slow enough where she was just like, "Just you can just bartend. I'm here, but like you can just take it, and then it's come be a question, whatever." And so, like from a bartender standpoint, like later on, I'm like, "Oh yeah, let the barback do it, and like I'll split tips or whatever." But they're just happy to be working. And I was, and so that gave me an opportunity to kind of like learn how to bartend without having, she wasn't like do this, do that. Female energy versus male energy is different. Like she's like, let me know when you have an issue and I help in. And so from the bar standpoint, I got to learn how to actually be a bartender, I think, really more on a fast paced scale. The restaurant in back in Maryland is a whole different thing. It's really more like how about a sports thing with like beers and shots and two ingredient drinks. And so she stands out. And then The rest of it, I just feel like it's just me getting pieces of nuggets from people. One of my guys, Dan Natali, he works over, and I want to say he works in the Valley still. I'm not sure where, but he's the son of a bartender whose dad, whoever's he like so his father, but so he's a second generation bartender. I don't. To me, that seems like there's like 10% of people maybe in the world that do that. But he's just efficient. He's knowledgeable, so I picked up things from him. And I think once on like the retail side of it, I would say Joe Keeper. To a lot of extent, there's things in how to talk to consumers, certain ways that you pick up stuff that you hear, and business sides of things I picked up from him. And same thing, Leslie Moore. Leslie Moore is someone who also works at Barkeep as well. And he's just again, how to communicate to people, how to tell people about spirits from a different side than just a bartender, and how to talk about it from a standpoint of retail or to a consumer in a different way. Understanding pricing and how to like, bring in product and order product, taste product, all these things, and like decide on what you're bringing, promotion, things in a different. I'm just another way to like tighten up stuff that I had ideas about. So that's the first part of that. The second question you said was how am I still using it, or what was the second part of that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, how did it guide you?
So I think what it gave me is a set of skills that know how to navigate different sides of what this business is. I think that's probably the best thing I could say from each person is that it's almost like you absorb certain like tidbits of information. um, and I approach a lot of stuff as an actor. I think about this a lot. That so I think about characters all the time. And so the idea of what are those traits from that person that stand out is something that like you can pull from and use, which I think is a great just a way of saying like there's it's like the shopping cart mentality. I don't know if you ever heard that, but like, you go down an aisle, you don't have to take everything. You just take what makes sense to you. And so from a lot of those people that's learning the business and navigating this business, because now I feel like I'm more on like the business side where as a person in the bar, I'm doing my thing. I do my thing that night. I get my money for what I just did, and then I get a check for the hours I worked doing what I did. I'm on the side now where I want to, I'm doing things to bring in more income to where I work at. What can we do to deal with the fact that maybe it's not as busy as we'd like to be in certain aspects? What promotional things are you doing? My company's called I Drink I Can. I drink I Can because I love puns and plays on words. And I'm like, how do I promote my cocktail classes, my consulting, anything I'm doing? And so taking the spirit side of like, working in it, serving it to people, and then now going into the side of kind of selling the idea to people or the thing to people, or from another standpoint, or having to actually work a little harder than as a bar they came to you already expecting. So now how to get them to come again in a different aspect. I think I've definitely absorbed stuff from each one of those people and just other people who I didn't even mention. One of the person I'll say too, sorry, just hopping back here and just thinking about it. I worked at a place called Pika for a while, and I was a server there because I had stopped kind of bartending for a bit. And a friend of mine, at the time, Kimberly Dean, was a manager there. And so she got me basically a job serving. And it was Pika at the time was a great restaurant. The chef was Ricardo Zarate. He was like 2011 best chef in LA. He then had some controversy, which I will not mention. Things happened. But I got to work with Julian Cox, who is in the bar world. He's done a lot of stuff. He's opened bars, programs, and just his chill demeanor from my standpoint, of someone who, you know, is not a white dude who is giving you information and doing great things. Like there's people who I've seen who are not white men. Sorry, I'm just going to go there. In the business where it has been an inspirational thing to be like, oh, cool. There's someone who is like, black, brown, somewhere thereabouts, Asian, just not white, doing something that you could see yourself doing is a great thing to see. So I always want to make sure I point that out too, because very chill, got it really kind of broke down certain aspects of the business that were definitely, and also he came with one of my favorite phrases, which is mixologist. He's like, don't be a mixologist. Don't think you're God's gift to cocktails. And I was like, so mixologist is like my word for someone who is just like that bartender who's just like, "Wow, yeah, you're really good. No, I got it. Yep, understood."
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. That
so
happens to too many. I feel like,
yeah, yeah.
if it's taken you 15 minutes to make a cocktail, it's no longer about the guest. It's all
What are
about
we
you,
doing?
your performance, and what the fuck are you doing back there? I mean,
What are you
what
doing?
are
Who's
you
this
doing?
for?
And you're gonna charge me $20.
I always say if I go to Vegas, give it to me in Vegas. Give me something ridiculous. If I've gone to a place where ridiculous is expected to happen, then
Right.
let me see ridiculous. If
Yeah.
I'm at a regular place, like I used to bartend with a dude who Daryl Swords, Daryl S. Words, he you try to do flair, and I was like, just doesn't make sense to do it here. Like, it's stop trying, stop practicing flair. Like, me, you see it, it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't like it's not efficient. Digging into that story, it's just that was it. It was just like he would
Mhm.
try to do stuff, and he was like, just make the drinks. Like, no one cares about that. Like, we're not that bar, and you're not good at it. So,
Right, right.
some of that stuff is just kind of unnecessary. You know what I mean? So,
I
yeah,
know. You kinda have to understand the space that you're in, right?
yes, please, yes,
Right? And it's just like
yes,
craft cocktails are not for every bar and restaurant. I don't believe that they are. I'm sorry. You can make a damn good
no,
cocktail, right? But it can just be something, maybe you make like just the most delicious whiskey sour anybody's ever had because you're using
yeah,
fresh lemon juice. You know what I mean? You don't have
try
to
hard. Yeah,
reinvent the wheel. I think that in many ways, in some instances, we have veered away from the word hospitality, right? And it became about us. And I think that and I hope that we're getting back to the roots of hospitality, and that's
yeah,
serving others.
yeah. I want to say that it's funny because you mentioned that. I did a I was a judge on a competition last year. It's called the Relly's Moya cocktail competition. He's out of Atlanta, black gentleman who is doing some great things in the spirit world. And so we sort of did this like industry panel. And there were some people from different spirits companies and the industry and some chefs. And so kind of that question came around like, what to the hospitality industry be doing? And just without putting a ton of thought into it, but honestly, I get to work with it a lot, is I was thinking that it's like hospitality industry, like the hospitality aspect of it is a thing that I feel like dropped a little bit. Steps of service. There's things that you learn when you just kind of come in that like classically, like I always make this joke when I go out now. I get annoyed when I see somebody come up to me and they can put the entire order in a cabinet and they can pay in the problem. Like, you know, it's like I walked to school uphill both ways in the snow, and you get to use a tablet here. So only to say that, like, I feel like things have gotten easier for some people, and it's the same way. Like the service industry and every industry really is the same thing. Technology advances, kids, people stop having the same appreciation. Work ethic doesn't necessarily. I'm not gonna say it drops. It just doesn't meet the same standards that it probably met before because you had to do more to get things that are easier to
Mhm,
get now.
mhm.
And so I had to do things from a hospitality standpoint to earn a tip that I don't think is is done the same way. And if I could have put giving you a piece of technology that has you push a code to say 15, 18, or 20% tip, I'm probably getting better tips. I'm right
Mm,
there in front of them. They have to do it in front of me. You know what I'm saying? Instead of leaving it.
yeah.
And the only reason I say that is because I feel like what you're working for, you don't work for as hard. And then there's this gap, which I will point out because I feel like it is a catalyst for a lot of things when people started becoming lazy, is 2020 pandemic. Because people kind of came on that, before that, there really wasn't like reels on social media. People who really going into like it's like drone stage necessarily. They were, but not necessarily like that. But then you came out in the industry, it's like people were like, "Hey, you tip, we appreciate our service, workers tipping." There's a gratuity thing on there. It's auto. It's now, and then it's everywhere now. Is gratuity in there, and so you're like, as a person working as hard, do I have to tip? I don't feel bad, like a bad person, if I don't tip. And then I'm like, well, I'm seeing that the person who's working for the tip, not across the board, is maybe not working as hard for it, or they can get it easier. And so I think that hospitality part of it is dropping because there's not the same level of people teaching downward. This is what you do. And this is
Yeah.
how you make sure the guest has a great experience. I want the guests to come back and know my name the second time they're back. I might not
Right.
remember your name, but I want them to know my name and you to establish a bond because they're going to bring people there. And if I have the slowest night ever of the week, and you go, hey, text the guy who is the person or the girl who's the person, I'm at the bar tonight, and they came in, 10 people. So I'm saying I think that that part of that atmosphere has changed, and with the technology's needs, the bar is just a different scene. The hospitality industry is a different scene, and we're still going out and enjoying ourselves when we can. We can save up enough money to pay to go out to enjoy ourselves, but the experience is different. And they know it's different. We know it's different. We're both still participating in it, even though none of us are probably super happy. And
Yeah.
can necessarily fix the hospitality side of it because that's top down. And as long as the money's coming in, people are okay with it. I think it's
Mhm.
oh, I don't know if
Yeah,
that's a
I also
long-winded
think like
answer.
it's a generational thing as well, just a little bit. I grew up my first bartending gig was, I'm not going to say when, but it was a very long time ago.
I think at one point you told me when. I think I might know you, so
Yes,
we'll just know
and
that
and
I
I can
can think of
tell you the
yes.
most important thing behind that bar was the newspaper.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Seriously, because you wanted to know the weather,
Yeah,
you had to know what the sports teams were up to, and you need to know a little bit about politics.
yep.
And so the first thing that
Well
I would
versed.
do is sit and read the freaking newspaper. And that was one of the most important things because you were expected to have conversations with people and people
100%.
questions. Hey, what's it look like today? Is it going to rain today? Oh, did you see, X, Y, and Z basketball game did this or, whatever it might be. And I think we've gotten away a little bit from that and where you could just truly connect with the guest in ways that maybe we don't so much anymore because everybody's on their damn phones.
I mean, that's kind of the key right there is that everyone is on their phones, and before when you came into a bar, even if you came into a bar, so let's say when I was starting out bartending, you came in with a phone, but your phone did what it was a phone. It was call, and
Yeah.
even on the phone because it wasn't good. You still had Thomas guy to not pronounce anyway, but it was different, and so you were connecting with the person there. Now you go in and I'm trying to win your attention away from the game in front of you. But honestly, gonna win for the most part. And in a way, I kind of think about I'm happy I'm not competing anymore with that. Like I'm like that teacher who's like outgrew the students, who's like I can't teach the same way. So like for me, from a bartending standpoint, I still think I would be able to like, command a bar just because I'm 6'4" and
Mhm.
I my from the stage presence situation. Like I understand how to talk to various types of people, which is a unique skill, probably developed from being black in an environment that is not necessarily filled with black people. Like I live in Los Angeles. I tell you, the liquor industry, top to bottom, is not filled with black people out here. And so you have to be able to communicate in all sorts of environments, which
Mhm.
isn't the most fun, to be quite honest. I'd love to just be able to be like, you know, myself, which I'm not saying I'm not being, but there's certain aspects where you're like, oh, I have some very rich clientele coming in today. I always gauge a situation with like a few different, let me see what type of person this is. And then based upon that, then I can say, cool, how do I talk to this person? But like even that level of like thinking, which again, my brain's doing, not everyone's brain is doing, but there's someone else who's doing if these types of customers come in, I'm not saying I'm profiling them, but I'm going to see what they're expecting their experience to be today. And
Mhm.
then my job as someone in hospitality is to give them the best version of that experience, specifically in Los Angeles, who people are coming to as a destination place. You never know if someone's local or someone who's visiting. But the idea of thinking about the customer in that standpoint and then focusing on that is something that people have lost. And
Yeah.
then the people who are in like say restaurants, bars, they used to have their audience be directly who was local to them. And now social media is a marketing thing. So a lot of people have
Mhm.
started focusing on social media marketing. And I'm like, if you're not winning local, like you're not winning the blocks around where you're at, if the people who don't want to come get you are local on a regular basis, then like whatever bad thing that you created to get a little bit of viral moments and then that disappears, that seem to influence things, come and influence things, and then you're still left with like the people who are local are like, well, you didn't really care about us. So there's that division of people trying to win the enemy, and I'm just like you said before, like you don't have to be craft, you can make a good cocktail. It doesn't have to be craft. Like if you sell it and it's $14, that's great if you're making money
Mhm.
based upon what you paid. So if you buy the right stuff, again, someone who understands the idea of what retail costs and what the what bottle pricing is, if you sell the right stuff at the right price and you upcharge it, but it's not that much cost to you and it's easy, but it's delicious, and you don't have to call it craft, people will be like, hey, this is a great place. I can go there tell that honestly, $14 kind of reminds me of the olden days, but like I can go and I can get it and it's good. And then if you want to have a $20 cocktail on the menu, you are using something that's slightly better and people can recognize it as being slightly better and it tastes rich in a way that makes sense of it, then do that. But like people who are trying to just hit this level of craft and I'm like, you're just mixing because that's not your avenue.
Right,
Like when
right.
what is your local audience going to drink? If it's like if they want beer in sports, you need to figure out a way to cater to beer in sports, or maybe move. Maybe you made a bad decision being where you're at. So
Yeah.
I ramble.
No, I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. And I want to shift gears just a little bit here because how I met you was at the LA, Spirit Awards. And I want to
Yes.
touch on that just a little bit because you're an expert in spirits. And I would love to get for our listeners maybe to get some of your insights. What are some of the
Yep.
common misconceptions, people have about spirit competitions? And what's the judging process like for you?
So let me first say that common misconception was one that I had, which I'm not sure that I absolutely have lost, but have gained a respect for being a judge now. So, as you mentioned before, we met at the Spirits Awards. I've been a judge now for 2 years. A special shout out to Joseph D. Solis, who is a really good friend of mine, who said the LA Spirits Awards needs to have people from LA. He's like, there needs to be people who actually live in LA. He's like, and there's many people who are in LA on the spirits panel. He's like, you need to work in the industry, you're an expert. And I was like, no, I'm not. He's like, why are you saying you're not an expert? He's like, I've watched you talk to people about spirits in detail. And then, I'm from a generation raised by parents who were like, you should be humble all the time. And so sometimes I'm like, oh, right, I guess I am when I think about it from the outside perspective, an expert. But calling yourself an expert makes me feel weird because there's so much more I don't know that I know people in this business know. So you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's a progression necessarily. So I'm only saying that to state that like I'm an expert in what I've learned, what I've gathered, and how I can disseminate that to people and make it make sense. So I think one misconception I had was that the spirit, like for me, I'm thinking from the standpoint of working in retail now, not necessarily bars. From retail, when someone comes in and they say, "This is our spirit," and it's won these awards, to me, I'm like, the awards don't mean anything. They mean nothing to me because I don't know anything about the people judging the criteria to that award. The thing that matters to me is pour it out, give me about a second, feel it, and let me taste it. So before I was ever judging, that's how I was operating at that. But I was operating as a person who we hand sell everything. So I'm tasting, I'm getting my note, and I'm saying to the person bringing that spirit in, do we want to taste? Does this make sense? Is the story right? Is this diverse enough? Does it fit the fact that we're not carrying a lot of call brings more stuff? We want to kind of talk about the ritual of drinking instead of just getting drunk. And so that's how I always approached tasting spirits and what is it? What's the story? And for me, I would always speak to this. My heritage and growing up, as a black man, I need more of a story. Like if someone comes in with like I hate to say this, but I can't be honest, obviously here, is that if someone comes in and they have had like the spoon's been silver their entire life and they've enjoyed the aspect of everything and they bring me a spirits brand and they're like, yada yada, this is what we're doing. I'm like, this might not be the avenue for you because maybe you should go to a bigger box store out in McMillan and Manhattan Beach. And I'm not saying that negatively. I'm just saying that like your audience is going to do that. Our audience is going to ask something that's like wants me to tell a story. If I can't get behind the fact that you have this very expensive product, and you're trying to sell it, and your story is, without mentioning names, "Oh, we found the artists we liked, and we put them on these bottles, and we got this liquor that's from a source liquor place where you just buy liquor, and we fill these bottles up, and the bottles are $300. And the spirit's good stuff, but it's really about the artists we want to promote. And so we've gone to Palisades and done events there, and we think you guys would be right for us." And I'm like, "I think we'd be wrong for you because there's no way I'm going to sell that product to somebody." So approaching the idea that I didn't think that those awards mattered, I when I joined the LA Spirits Awards and I got to sit in on a three-person team, a panel of people, put my notes and things, taste, go through the process, debate between that and get used to it. And then have that second day be, everyone puts together all their thoughts between all the different teams, the three people teams, and we say what we think is the best. I'm like, okay, that's it. We're debating. We're actually going through saying our reasons why. So, and if, not just to give them a shout out because it's the only place I judge for, but to Nicolette and to Joel, who, and Cecilia actually, who are in charge of the LA Spirits Awards, who helped found that, get the game. I'm super grateful because I now believe that at least this award show, I understand pieces of it. And so my misconception was that it just wasn't valid. Like it just didn't matter. It was like, I don't know, you just paid somebody for that. Like there's so many award shows. I actually made a good and then say it here so maybe it can get like stamped as I said this and I did this. I thought about creating the Black Spirit Awards, which was people in the cocktail industry that were black, basically putting awards show together our favorite spirits, whether black or whoever owns them. And they had awards like Platinum Award, Onyx Award, Obsidian, like these. And like, and I was like, and I'll charge people a bunch of money. Now I made it, I was doing it as a joke in my head because what's the validity for an award show? Just creating something cool. And then a friend was like, "Yeah, but if you got people you knew in the industry, it's like it wouldn't make sense." I was like, "That would make sense because you're actually doing this." And so that was a misconception. I think that it's definitely changed me. I still don't feel like every is going to make a lot of sense. And again, sorry, your second part of the question because I ramble a lot.
No, I think that you just hit everything. You definitely described the awards and the importance behind them and how it's done. And I feel like it's done in a very fair way. And I do feel
Yep,
like spirit awards are important because it can help weed some things out and it can, give flowers to those that are doing a really great job. And a lot of times these brands aren't big brands, like you mentioned, they're little guys just trying to make a buck and struggling through. So I think that it's important that we put them on a platform where they can get some attention, right? And where folks
100%.
like you, when you bring them into your shop, you can genuinely tell their story, which we know that stories sell, especially
I
when they're
mean, yeah, it's
so,
huge.
I agree with you. And, you know, I just have a couple more questions for you, Lonnie. And that is,
Yeah.
as a leader in the beverage community, what responsibility do you think that you have in mentoring and elevating the next generation coming up behind you of beverage professionals?
So for me, I think it's about establishing, particularly because the way I entered the business, that if you are in this business in any aspect of it, like even if you are here because you're moonlighting while you're doing your other dream vision, not to say that people are not, coming in the spirits business being like, I graduated and doing certain spirits things. I don't know that that's the way a lot of people get into this. I talked to a lot of convicts, a lot of people who had other things they were doing. Some people were started out bartenders, just moved right in. So I think my message to them would be, you have to be passionate about it in some aspect of it. Like at some point in time, if you really don't care about it or have your reason why, like why are you doing this? So if you're doing this job just to support your family, that's still a reason.
Mhm.
If you're doing this job because you want to see some change in energy, whether you're in the spirit side, the producer side, marketing, promoting, whatever it is, podcast, you need to have some passion that's the reason why you're doing it. And
Mhm.
you need to have to develop into something where I need to like if I'm doing stuff now, why am I doing it? And so
Yeah.
when I made my company, I do that I made that from the standpoint that I didn't always feel like every avenue of the industry was the most welcoming. If I'm being quite honest, I just think that like it's not even an overstatement, understatement, whatever, to say that. And that's for it's just the way most industries are. Mhm. And predominantly, I talk about this because it's like prevalent. I think that not talking about something like this makes people think that this doesn't exist. But like most bars that I worked at, because I went to work at establishments that number one were in areas that were in areas that made sense that were close to where I lived at. You know, to potentially offer connections were industries where I'm like the only black person there. And so when I'm the only black person there, there's a certain thing that is just different. And it's not something that you can have a communication with someone who is not black about it because they don't really, even if they understand, they don't really understand what you're saying. And I'm not saying there's any negativity with that. It's just certainly the case. And so I figured out how do you have to navigate these things? You have to care about what you're doing. And the reason why you continue to go do this thing. From my standpoint, I see every opportunity as a chance to be a positive influence on what you're doing. I don't just say that because it sounds good. I now have like an inability to not think on the positive side of things. Family stuff, things that happened, I realized young that I'm going to have to put my mind in a place that makes sense. So positive input, positive output instead of negative input, negative output. Really just focusing on having a good day. And so when I say to someone who is a product of the generation, like coming up, or even people who are going on, it's like you need to be passionate about it, you need to be positive. Like you need to understand it. Like this situation you're in, good, bad, whatever, you want to progress, you're not where you're at, you need more, you have to do something positively about it. Like you have to actually enact that and believe it. And then you have to seek out the resources that are going to help you to do it. If you realize that the circle you're in, and people hanging out, especially in the bar boat, you know, we bartend, sometimes we hang out with the bartenders. I don't know if that's the scene where it was when I was bartending, but like you can go and have a minute after you get done bartending, you know, out drinking, hanging out, having a good time, doing things you maybe you don't want to do, but you can do, you did, and say, hey, maybe I didn't want to do them this morning, right? And so, what are you doing? It's 2026. The world's not going to wait for you to figure stuff out as much as it may have been before. You need to be passionate about what you're doing because you're in the industry. You've already made the choice. It's here. It's a very flexible industry where you can move different things to make money in different ways. You can do private stuff, all kinds of stuff. It's great. Passion, reason why you're doing it, positive when you're doing it, getting a group of people who can support that, moving in the right direction. Because then everything else that comes from me is going to be a better situation. Like I can give a specific detail, but the reality is I find that people who are moonlighting and that's not really their passion, they don't really approach it the way they're trying to progress what they're doing. People who are in it who are not really people who are positive are always going to see something negative that's coming from something or take something negative. And instead of being like, man, it sucks. I made money, but it sucked. I don't want to do it again. Well, positively, didn't enjoy that. What were the things I did not like about that that I don't want to keep doing? It's a positive way of approaching something negative. I think people just forget about that. And learn that aspect of when you're working in this industry where we're dealing with people on a regular basis. So for that generation, this is where you're at. Like focus on that. And then second part of that again, I'm sorry,
No,
was
I think again that you
did I
totally,
get it?
again, that
Okay.
you nailed this, like, and I think that you're exactly right. I mean, so much of what we do has to come from passion. It has
Yep.
to. And, I do think that there is a lot to say when you can stay positive within this industry that we're in, because guess what? It's super aggressive.
Yeah.
Not for everyone. It can run you over
Yeah.
and make you tired and get you disappointed and twisted and all sorts of things. And so you have to have the ability to see the other side of a lot of things and work through it, because this is not an easy industry. It's not.
Yeah. And
Anybody.
it's not gonna wait for your feelings. It's not gonna be
Oh, no, it's
like
not
or
gonna
your
wait for
rights or
no.
what you believe. I'm sorry, it'll just move past you and I hire somebody else.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, but
still
I think
just
that you
aggressive.
left us with just some amazing thoughts and wisdom today. Would you come back on Served Up?
Yes. Can I say one more thing though?
Of course,
Can I plug this thing that I
I
figured
would
out the
love
way I
it.
can plug it?
Do
Okay, so
it.
I figured out the way to plug this thing. Number one, already said that I do cocktail classes and
Yeah.
in Los Angeles. I think I can. If you just put on Instagram, you'll find it. I usually do Sundays and Wednesdays. Cocktail classes for the home consumer. It's a bartender wants to come by. That's great. They can. It's about 3 cocktails. We have a great time. Learn how to do stuff. Not pretentious. I'm all about having a good time and learning things, taste, all these fun things. People have enjoyed it. I like it, they like it. So that was just a little quick plug for me. But I worked on a film, and I think I'm allowed to mention that what the film was, but I am allowed to mention who I worked with, and not necessarily what I did. So I'll let you guys put things together based upon the conversation we've had so far. And so I got to be the consultant on a film directed by David Fincher, starring Brad. So I got
That's
to
cool.
consult Brad Pitt on a thing that I'm not sure I can say what it is. But again, we've had a long conversation today. So that movie, I believe, comes out in theaters for like a 2-week run, and then it's going to be on Netflix. I
Oh,
want to,
that's wonderful. We will
yes,
check it out. Listeners,
yeah,
I hope that you are perking up. Mr. Brad
yes.
Pitt, Lonnie, what was that experience like for you really quickly? Was it
It was great because I sometimes have these thoughts in life about when you get an opportunity to be the one of one. So I'm the
Mhm.
only person to have ever done that thing that I did. No one else
Fair.
has done it before. I'm the first person ever to work with him doing this, and so I think that also the again, I'm consulting, I'm teaching, I'm training. I think that the way it ends up, hopefully, I'm making it great because that's what they do. I think it's going to be in a good light for the people in that business. I think it's going to help sell it well, and I think I was hired to make sure this looked the way it was supposed to look. And
Mhm.
I'm grateful that he was easy to work with. Actually, he motivated me to do a couple cocktail competitions, which I kind of won one. So through his
Nice.
motivation, he said do that. I don't know anything else besides my interaction with him, but he was a great individual. Being everyone on set, a lot of fun to work with. I want to do more of this type of consulting. I think that if in any point going to show a profession that is very prevalent and is now getting social media attention, it should do it correctly, and it means you
Mhm.
hire it correctly. And you can't just assume that's what it looks like because you went to, because you've seen it one time. So,
Right.
yeah, the most vague way I can say that is what I worked on. So,
Well, that's exciting.
yeah,
You never know where beverage is gonna take you, that's for sure. You
yeah,
just
hey,
know.
yeah,
You never know because the beverage industry as a whole is not something that you go to college for to get a degree, and it has this straight path line, and you check off boxes like, "Okay, now I'm a manager, now I'm assistant manager, now I'm the CEO, now I'm the CF," you know what I mean? There's not like this
yeah,
path. It's not a direct path. I feel like
yeah,
sometimes I'm going in circles, you know what I mean? So it's just like it's so fun when something so positive and
yeah,
wonderful and unique comes your way and so very well
yeah,
deserving, Lonnie. I think that that's wonderful. And so, listeners, we need to keep our eyes out on Netflix
yes.
for the really cool thing that Lonnie
Just
did.
look up Brad
Brad
Pitt
Pitt.
movie, David Fincher, and you'll figure out the time and when it comes out.
Yes. Yes, we will do
And
that. Well, yeah, that's amazing. With that, I just want to thank you for being on the show. And I hope that you come back again and give us an update on what you're up to.
100%. I would love to be on this. I think this is something that is needed, and I'm actually going to pick your brain at some point because I want to work on a version of something like this in LA and just be able to interview people and just get their stories because a lot of the experience, especially for someone who's been in the business as long as I have, is people have stories and the industry has
Mhm.
changed. And if you've been in it for a long time, you've seen it change. And there's some great stories. And I don't think that people are telling them because I know a lot of people who have them and I don't think anyone's talking to them. And
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
want to,
Do it. I encourage you, do it. And when you do it, you come on here and we'll promote the hell out of it. Do it.
I'm so down with it, and I love it. And you seem like you simplified it. I've hosted 3 podcasts before. I've been on podcasts. I've ran them. I've produced them. I've done the whole aspect from idea to produce to sending it out, and it's a lot of work. And this was not a lot of work. This is very easy. And
It's fun. Just
I'm
having a
in fact,
conversation. Yeah, well, thank you.
and
Well,
yeah,
I
I'm
want to
grateful.
wish you just some great health and a lot of peace, Lonnie. Thank you so much for coming on Served Up.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of our future Served Up episodes. Cheers.